When you say indigenization, many times it's argued like if you are like trying to indigenize something, it's just reinventing the wheel again and again. In fact, if you look at Rajiv Chandrasekharan, and he said that why do we really need to go and create our own large language models? We can just use them for our applications and just scout for novel applications per se. We extrapolate the same logic to space. Then the counter becomes that are we wasting too many resources into this indigenization drive? Should we just use that technology and possibly look at a use case in space? Or maybe there is an inherent value within indigenization?
I have a strong point of view on that, but I don't want to monopolize the conversation. I will let others chime in. And
I would say that's a prime candidate for utilizing many of the technologies that we've been discussing earlier today. Robotics, artificial intelligence, all of that is because what I sense from the entire conversation so far is there are elements of dread, romance, mystery, spirituality, inspiration. So there's quite a few things that have come out. One thing which hasn't come out is fear. Isn't there also a sense of fear saying, okay, tomorrow if each one of us in this room is able to go to space, how many of us would be able to sort of cross that mental bridge? So effectively, and keeping that in mind, I think with the advanced technologies that we're referring to, so they find a natural fit, at least in my mind, to an environment which is not necessarily or may not necessarily be suitable for human inhabitation.
So by the way, did you get your answer? Or would you add to it?
I'm just trying to connect the dots, but definitely I think as a promising field in the space of science and technology, clearly there is a lot that will happen in this field. We have just started. That's the sense I get from a student, from being a student of technology overall. And I think the crux, to the point that you mentioned in terms of space is not only about really landing on the moon or finding maybe minerals which are rare on Earth. It's also equally about the approach towards that technology and how is that applicable in a typical B2B or B2C scenario on Earth today, because our lifetime is limited. So how we can actually find those use cases which can actually enhance our life on this Earth, right? Because practically speaking, most of us on the table here might not find a way to go to space in our lifetime. I would wish all of you go if you want to. But the point is, how do you apply that knowledge? This entire thing that happened with Chandrayaan, I was more intrigued with the fact that you were doing a kind of a remote teleconferencing kind of a thing where you were able to track the movement and with so much of precision. Today, we are living in a world where we are actually struggling with this entire augmented reality, virtual reality itself. So I thought maybe if this could be applied there, our lives could be actually much more enhanced, right? So I would look at that level because I understand that level right now. I don't understand the intricacies of the space technology at this point in time. So that's my take.
And actually, at a very basic level, and some great inputs and clearly much better read on the subject. I can't comment too much on it, but for a student who wants to pursue something like this, where there is today proven technologies and there is research going into it, just to simply encourage that curiosity, I would say one would want to see more actually go down that road, because if you look at just education and what students are pursuing in today's world, such different fields which we didn't have the opportunity to explore. So I would just really completely support a youngster who wants to go and research.
In fact, it kind of connects to the point that we talked about earlier, meaning that if artificial intelligence and all the advent of the current new technology, what we call new technologies, it raises the bar and it creates a new level playing field. What do people do after that, right? We talked about how it is important to bring humanities and philosophy and psychology and other aspects to enhance human life in a context where you don't maybe need to work for your survival, but you need to work for something else, right? You need to work for advancement and furthering the prospects of humankind, right? As a spacefaring species, for example, right? It's also about like how you can apply your intellectual horsepower to research and development for what is the next new, right? I think that can be a great motivation for people in a scenario where everybody is saying that what now? Whatever I used to do, it's being done by machine. It's being done by artificial intelligence.
In fact, at the risk of digressing for a minute, I'm going to correlate to a conversation I had with my daughter 5 years ago when she, a STEM student till her A levels that she took, and then decided to go into the world of art. and both parents being STEM background, we were like, couldn't relate to, what are you going to do with this, and what do you want to do? She says, I want to graduate in the world of ceramics. And so we're just kind of reconciling to where this is going and trying to understand her, because at one level we're talking space and future. This seemed like you're going somewhere, where is this leading to? And her point was that, but your world is going to get all automated. It's the creative mind that's going to really be required. So, y'all should wake up and smell the coffee.
Except for,
That's what she said to me.
generative AI.
Yeah, I'm just tagging on, right? Ceramics as a technology might actually be super important for space exploration, right? The refractory properties of ceramics.
But the line of discussion there was a little different.
More artistic on the
more
creative
artistic
side.
and to say that actually if you go back to what humankind was, it's about feeling, it's about expressing, it's about working with your hands, it's about what that working with your hands does to your brain. It stimulates in a very different way, but it's another. So sorry, I took it to another.
No, I'll take it from there again,
Yes,
because
please.
one part is on the technology part of the space technology, how we have to do it and what we can do there. But the other part is, let's imagine for an argument that many countries have reached a level where they can conquer space. Right now, very few countries are there. How do you govern this? Right. So what is that? Because the Indian laws or the world laws may not be the right laws there. Right. For example, again, we were talking about your daughter. So my daughter is into law, right? And when she was looking at the specializations, normally we say corporate law, criminal law, and all those stuff. She asked me a question: why not space law?
Really? Wow.
Right. So anyway, tomorrow, companies, organizations, countries are going to fight space in the space, right? And therefore, can I make a difference there? Now that's another area which we need to look at from a larger angle, apart from the technology part of it.
Correct.
But how do you govern this?
This point came up when we started talking about metaverse, and then who owns metaverse and what's happening in the metaverse itself? So that probably was a very pertinent topic, and I would extrapolate it to a scenario which is space itself. If it is metaverse, which is in a very, very digital fluid space where literally nobody has any aspects of, or there are things that have not been imagined in terms of barriers, what does that expand into? And I would really think it's a very pertinent subject to develop on.
This law point connects to the indigenization question that you asked earlier, right? Because if you're going to have a race for space and the possibilities that it offers, whether it is commerce, minerals, whatever it might be, right? There will be a race. There will be a race amongst companies, there will be a race amongst nations, right? Now, I will just draw parallels to the semiconductor industry, right? Now, we took a certain kind of an approach 20 years back, 30 years back in terms of how will we approach the semiconductor space, right? We have been left behind. China has gone so far ahead, right, that even the US and other countries are super worried about, right, what is happening. Of course, there are certain technologies, for example, like lithography, that a European company has got a monopoly on, right? Those considerations are there. But in terms of one controlling the resources, natural resources that we have, plus the manufacturing of semiconductor chips, we have been left behind, right? If we had taken a different kind of an approach, indigenization again, we would have been in a very different situation. Today, if you want to build that capability, and semiconductors are at the heart of everything, right? Technology itself. So if you don't actually focus on indigenizing some crucial things, we could actually be left behind, and then we might have to resort to law then, right, to figure out what share we will get out of what is happening.